Good morning from the frozen deep south here. We are in a little bit of a cold snap today, and thought I would, while I'm hunkering down inside and trying to stay warm and keep my pipes from freezing, I get on here and spend a little time today with you all. And if you're new here, my name is Beth, and this is Spiral Path Arts, and I just talk about my life here. Today, I thought we would kind of revisit one of my more popular videos. Y'all seem to really enjoy when I got the bins of unfinished quilts and finished quilts and all those things out before the holidays and shared all of those. So today we are going to get into my cedar chest and see what kind of hand knits might be in there. It seems really appropriate for a really cold day. And yeah, it's cold here in Alabama, but it's not Great White North, Chicago, Minneapolis, Milwaukee, Detroit cold. All y'all up there are cold. I know it because I have friends and family up there, and y'all have snow. Also to my Tennessee friends, you guys finally got snow. I move out of the state and you finally get like a real snowstorm, and I'm a little jealous. We got a skiff, is being generous, of snow the other night, but what we got, which was worse for Alabamans, I don't know what we are down here, is we got freezing rain. And not really an ice storm. It wasn't like a Michigan ice storm, but it was enough to completely paralyze the state and wreak a lot of havoc. So before we go into the bedroom where the cedar chest is and I show you all of my old hand knits and whatever I can find in there. I looked for a sweater the other day. Well, we'll talk about that when I get in there. But first, what I'm going to do is I'm going to give up. I love to do puzzles, jigsaw puzzles. And I think my sister sent me this one in one of the many care packages that she has sent. And it is Van Gogh's Starry Night Over the Rhone. So here we go. And I believe she went to the interactive Van Gogh exhibit, which many people have gone to. I haven't had an opportunity to yet. Looks very interesting. And she and her family do a lot of puzzles, and they like hard puzzles, and they do them all together. Well, I got this out when my daughters were here over the weekend, that maybe we would get this puzzle out, because I knew the weather was going to be kind of cruddy and we might not do much. So last night I thought I would get the puzzle out. But the other thing is that the back of all the puzzle pieces have a letter, because the puzzle, the picture, you know, it is Van Gogh. So there's a lot, basically it's, you know, 2 or 3 colors over and over again and a lot of brush strokes. So it's gonna be a hard one. I sorted them by the letters, and then I got the edge pieces out. Well, I'm gonna tell you, I could not do the edges in the traditional manner. What I had to do was flip the pieces over and match up the letters to get the pieces to go together. And I'm like, well, I can't do the whole, well, I could, that would be interesting, to do the whole puzzle like upside down from the back. In the evening when I want to sit here and do my puzzle, they're like, it's not good, and I don't feel like moving a whole bunch of floor lamps in here to fix the problem. And I was like, you know what? I'm not going to do this puzzle. So I can sit here and struggle with it, but that's not the point of a puzzle. A puzzle is like a mindless, somewhat mindless, like activity to just sit here and enjoy. And, you know, I'm having my lunch, I'm having my breakfast, having a cup of tea in the afternoon between projects. I can just sit here and pop a few pieces into place. I can't do that if every single piece is going to be a struggle to put together. The other problem I'm having is this particular Hi Lilith puzzle. The pieces just don't lock together very well. And there's some that they clearly match. They clearly are the 2 puzzle pieces that are supposed to go together. And they just have a wiggle, a gap. So I am not going to struggle with something that's supposed to bring me joy. My whole purpose in life at this stage of my life is to find joy. More on that in a second. Remind me to come back to that, okay? If I don't come back to this video, remind me to come back to that. It's one of my New Year's things. But yes, if doing puzzles is supposed to bring me relaxation and joy, and all it's bringing me is frustration, I'm not going to do it. So this is the first thing I'm going to do today, is pack this up. Actually, it was just in this box like this. I also think there's some pieces missing because I was not able to do the entire edges. And like I said, I sorted all of those pieces by hand last night, 1,000 pieces. I don't think I missed any edge pieces when I was sorting it. Let's double down on the frustration of a puzzle that not only is it a frustrating puzzle to do because the pattern is so difficult, which sometimes I really like a challenging puzzle. I've never done one of those all one color puzzles, but I've done some that are pretty close to that. And when I'm in the mood for that, that's great. I'm not in the mood for that right now. I'm in the mood for something that's enjoyable. But actually, before I put this back on the shelf, I'm going to get a Ziploc to put the puzzle pieces in so that I don't lose any more of them if there's some missing. But there'll be a day when I want a super challenging 1,000-piece Van Gogh puzzle. That day's not today. So let's now head into the other room and see what we find in the treasure chest. Okay, here we are. Let's see what's in the treasure box, Pandora's box. It's actually my Grandma Lilas's cedar chest. So this is my paternal grandmother, Grandma Wood, and I inherited the cedar chest from her. Before we get into the cedar chest, there are there's a pile of sweaters on this chair. We all have this chair in our bedroom, right? If you don't have a Peloton, you have this chair that just, when you wear something, you put it on. We talked about this before, right? Well, this is the sweater I wore yesterday, which is what kind of sparked this idea. I don't remember how long ago I knit this sweater. It is the February lady sweater from Elizabeth Zimmerman. If you want to look up the pattern. It was a fun pattern. You knit from the top down. And so there's very little, if any, seaming at all. It's raglan. It's got a pretty little lace pattern and kind of 3/4 length sleeves. I went out to lunch yesterday and I needed a nicer looking sweater than what you all see me around the house in. So here we go. That was sweater I wore yesterday. And then last week, or over the weekend when it was really cold, I put this hand knit sweater on. And I don't remember the designer's name, but it's on Ravelry. I know that. And it's called the Portage sweater. And again, I believe this was knit top down. It's been a couple of years. I finished this one in Chattanooga. So this is probably one of the more recent makes that I have made. It's a nice big slouchy kind of boyfriend sweater. It's got pockets and it's knit. Both of these, this one for sure is knit out of Cascade 220 worsted weight wool. And I would put money on the fact that the February lady sweater was also knit out of Cascade 220 because it's like my favorite go-to. And that's what the yarn shop I used to frequent would carry. Also on this, chair, because, it's my sleep bonnet. Yes, white women can wear satin sleep bonnets. It's allowed. I've asked. When you have this much hair, a sleep bonnet will, especially when I don't straighten it. Oh, and I shouldn't have done that because now I'm so full of static because that's not a silk bonnet. I'm going to make myself a silk bonnet soon. I end up with a matted mess if I don't sleep in a sleep bonnet. Okay, a couple nightgowns. Again, we're not going to get that personal. But here are a few sweaters that I pulled out of here last week when I was looking for sweaters. And they're nothing special. They're just probably from Target or Kohl's, acrylic sweaters. Okay, so that's the fun you missed like a week ago when I was looking for something else. But now let's dive in and see what's in here. Well, on top, first of all, are some non-knits. I used to have this hanging, and I might hang it if I find the right antique hanger again and put a pretty little antique wire hook or something up in here, maybe in here. But this is cotton lawn. It is a christening gown. Yes, a witch had her children christened. Because again, I didn't grow up as a witch. I grew up as a Presbyterian, and married a Catholic. So there was a lot of Jesus in my house at one time. There still is. He visits. Anyway, we're not going to talk about that right now. This is the christening gown that I made my eldest daughter, and both of my girls wore it. If you can see the detail, it's pin tucks, insertion lace, hand smocking, and there's actually a little, it's two parts. There's the gown on the outside, and then this slip on the inside that's just cotton lawn without any detailing. Made it thinking it was going to become a family heirloom. I think even if either of my daughters ever had a baby, the chances of them having it baptized or christened are pretty slim as well. So I'm going to keep it, obviously, but I don't know what I'm going to do with it. All right, also some baby girl things. This was Emma's Easter dress. It was her favorite dress. She wore it until it looked like a shirt on her because she just kept getting longer, taller, and never getting any wider. Should have had her try it on this weekend. It might have still fit. But she loved it so much, and it was one of the first things I made her when I got my first fancy Bernina machine. And I did these little embroidery motifs on the tulle, and did it have does it have an underskirt? No, it did not. I think it might have had one that I did. Anyway, she wore it to death, obviously, because the tulle is just a ratted mess. But I have so many fond memories of how much she loved that handmade dress. Same, this one I made for my oldest daughter when she was a newborn. And it was her first Easter. So she was born in October. So she was like 6 months old, or approximately, for Easter. And nothing particularly fancy, but just really cute. Just cute. And, this is the little bonnet that goes with the christening gown, because of course it is. And then before we get to that dress, we're going to go to these dresses. These two little velveteen dresses were dresses I made for or jumpers that I made, American jumpers, not British jumpers, but velveteen for Christmas dresses. And I hand embroidered and hand beaded these. This is Emma's. So it's got little silver stars and snowflakes. And this was Sissy's. This was Sarah's. And it has stencil painted suns and gold stars with beads for the solstice. This is about the era we started getting a little witchy in my house. And yet it has an invisible zippers in the back. Some very cute pictures of the girls wearing these jumpers and having their Christmas pictures taken. And then this is, I'm sure anybody who has seen The Wizard of Oz knows what this is. This was a Halloween costume I made for Emma because she wanted to be Dorothy from Wizard of Oz. And of course, my children are not going to buy. Well, I won't say that. They did wear plenty of store-bought Halloween costumes, but they had an option. They had a homemade Halloween costume. And again, this is one of those things that once she got it and she got the sparkly red shoes that went with it, she never took it off. She wore her Halloween costume to church. She wore it to the playground. She wore it everywhere. She wasn't in school yet, so she didn't wear it to school. I don't think she was in school yet. No, maybe if she was in kindergarten. But yeah, all the time. And her little hair and braids. Okay, we have gotten, I think, to the end of the random things I found in sewing bins and had to find a safe place to be. Okay, this is a store-bought, well, online bought sweater. It is alpaca sweater it's a hoodie that my daughter bought me for Christmas a couple years ago when I was walking dogs and I was cold, and I love this sweater. It is super soft and super warm. There's not all of these are going to be hand knits. This is also something, I don't think I bought this new. I think I bought this at a resale shop in Illinois, although I might have. It's Croft and Barrel, which I think is the Kohl's brand, so maybe I bought it at Kohl's. It's one of those, even when I lived in Illinois, because it has Angora, it's almost too hot to wear. I would try to take it to Michigan for Christmas, and my in-laws would keep the wood-burning stove so hot that I couldn't even keep it on all day. But I keep it because it's like the classic Christmas sweater, right? Speaking of classic Christmas sweaters, this is only a medium, so I don't know why I kept it, but boiled red wool. I probably have kept it because it's boiled wool and I can always cut it apart and do something else with it, and I have it. All right, we're not going to spend a lot of time on the store-boughts. Okay, I think everything I can see with my eye from here is something I've made. Okay, we'll get to those in a second. This yarn, not a color I would ever choose, is Salmony Pink. And it's it's like a cotton and silk, if I remember correctly. But I won a bag of this yarn in some contest at the yarn shop I used to go to all the time, or something. And I struggled to find something to make out of it. And I made this little cardigan. It's kind of Japanese style, and the front pieces are rectangles, and so they hang kind of handkerchief hem on the bottom. I rarely wear it, and maybe I should wear it because it might be silk and wool. It's definitely got silk in it. It's a very beautiful soft yarn. I don't think it has wool because I think I remember when I was knitting with it, when you had to join it was hard to weave in the ends because they wanted to slide back out. And it's like a popcorn bobble lace. Could not tell you what pattern it is. And I don't know if it's on my Ravelry. I haven't been on my Ravelry in a long time, so I couldn't tell you. This, I taught myself to crochet and then got obsessed with crocheting. This is a mandala vest. I should actually actually that's what I'm going to do. Pause this camera for a second. I'm going to change so I can throw some of these on and you can see, put a t-shirt on or something. I can throw these on over the hair here. Okay. So let me show you how this thing goes. And I almost set this aside to frog. And then when I was making that mitered square blanket, I realized that I had a whole ball of this green yarn in there yet. So I didn't need to make more. I think I wore it on St. Patrick's Day one time because I didn't have any green. And I could put a shawl pin here. I don't know. It's kind of fun. It was one of those things that was more fun to make than it is to wear. Maybe if I wore it under this green turtleneck, maybe that would work. I don't know. Tell me what you think in the comments. Kind of hippy dippy, which I don't mind. But again, it was one of those things that it was fun to make and was an experiment. All right. Oh, another plain store-bought cashmere sweater. And I am 100% sure that is a thrift store find. And somehow or other, they ended up in here instead of in my felting pile. Okay. This vest. This is a Barocco yarn. I just happen to remember I went to a different yarn shop and bought this. It is, I have to be careful with my microphone here. It's just a big square vest. It is cabled, and doing cables on black yarn is not always fun. And so it's kind of like a fisherman's knit style vest. It's very blocky and oversized. And I think there was a time that I wore it. Hasn't been a time lately because I forget it's in here. This sweater, oh, I love this sweater. I think this is a Veronica Avery knit. I think it's in an interweave knit book that I have. Again, lots of little cables. This is not Cascade, but I can't remember what it is. Maybe it's Cascade. But ribs and cables and seed stitch collar, and it's very cute. Maybe it fits me now. Maybe it's it's got these like kind of, 3/4 length sleeves. Oh, I could wear this. I think I didn't wear it in Illinois much because of the short sleeves. Made it, not quite warm enough. Oh, yeah. I just love the shaping here. It's got these kind of sewn in darts or gaudets. So it's got nice shaping. I feel like when I made this, I was a lot heavier than I am now. And it maybe didn't fit quite as, needs maybe different buttons. These buttons aren't very attractive. All right, see, this is why we do this. Didn't I just say this about your pantry and your freezer? Get in there and see what's in there so you know what you have. Well, evidently, if you've got a cedar chest or a bin or something, do the same thing there. So you know if it's something. Because, oh, big chunks of ice just fell off my roof and hit my furnace. Okay, we're good. Okay, this was another experiment that I did. It is a Mobius shawl, not shawl, scarf. So if you know about Mobius strips, and so it was just a fun experiment to see if I could do it. And you just kind of, it's like, okay, I'm going to hit the microphone again. I do wear this one occasionally because I love the colors, the green and the blue. And it's knit in the round. Well, it's knit in a Mobius strip. So it's in the round, but it's in the round in almost a figure 8. That one I do wear occasionally, especially with my black leather jacket. I like the way it looks with that. Okay, another cardigan. I went on a huge cardigan thing. And this yarn, I remember the yarn, but I can't remember the manufacturer. This yarn, this is heavy, but it is wool, but it almost has like a cottony feel. It must be, and oh, I love this. I forgot about this sweater. Why didn't I pull this out at Christmas time when I needed a red sweater? I made extra long cuffs on it because I have a thing about sweaters with sleeves that are too short, which is probably why I never wear that brown one because it has purposely short sleeves. Oh, I think that was part of the problem. I either need to change the buttons to bigger buttons or tighten up the buttonholes because I feel like it comes unbuttoned every time I wear it. But that's a gorgeous sweater. Again, I think it might have been a body image issue. That there was a time when I was about 20 pounds heavier than I am now. And, but even unbuttoned. Okay, we're gonna leave that one on. I'm a little chilly until next thing I want. No, I'm not, because I got some things I got to throw on here. All righty. So, see, I just went shopping and in effect added hundreds of dollars in hand knit sweaters to my wardrobe in the last 10 minutes by shopping my own cedar chest. Oh, well, look what I found. A priceless treasure in the treasure box. I should have named you Pandora. Yes, okay. Come on, get down. All right, I'm kind of staying away from that end because I know what's in that end and we're going to just do that end as one whole thing. All right, let's keep... All right, this sweater I affectionately call my hysterectomy sweater because I started knitting it when I had my hysterectomy, and that's how I spent my time that spring was during recovery, keeping myself busy. Again, long, oversized cuffs that roll back. And this is a beautiful yarn. I can't recall. Boy, it might have Angora in it. It's super soft. Maybe it's silk even. But you can see it's very pilly. Now, again, that hysterectomy was like 15 years ago, so it's been around a while. And it's kind of stretched out of shape. I don't know if rewashing and a good blocking would do it. But it's an interesting stitch. It is like a basket weave cable. I mean, I remember it. Yeah, it was not a quick knit, but it gave me something to do while I was lying around trying not to lift anything heavier than a cup of tea. This sweater, I love this sweater. This is my go-to. This and the alpaca sweater. And I think, if I remember correctly, this one's available. I know it's available on, I bought it on Ravelry. And I think this is the one that's called Sunshine Coast. But this is, I think, a silk. No, a linen and wool. I still have a few balls of it. It's over there. It's a very thin, like sport weight, almost sock weight yarn. And it's knit from the top down, seamless. And, it has good shaping. The shaping to make to get it wider at the bottom are just these rows of yarn overs on the edges. And then I don't remember. It's been a minute, but it has some interesting shaping and interesting details for just a stock knit in the round sweater. And it was a quick knit, fairly quick knit. And I throw this one on because it's lightweight. It's not a thick, bulky sweater, but it's pretty warm. All right. Love that sweater. That pattern is one that I think I'm going to get some more of that weight of yarn in like a merino wool or a superwash merino and dye my own yarn to make that sweater again in some hand-dyed yarn. All righty. Interesting stuff here. What's this one? Okay. Nope, that's going to go over there. What's this one? Oh, I have two like that. Surprise, surprise. Okay. I think we're almost at the bottom of sweaters. So these are the ones that were a little bit of a surprise to me. This is a hemp yarn, Hempathy. And I love, this also was from Interweave Lace book. Okay, sorry about the, and I totally forgot I had this. But look at this, over a white t-shirt and a pair of jeans or a cute skirt. Perfect for summer. And now that I live in the South, I actually would probably wear it. So, forgot I had this one, and I loved this one. So we'll wear it. This spring, we're going to wear it. Here's one. I can't remember. This was one of those impulse buys. There was a yarn shop in Chattanooga, and they had I had just moved to Chattanooga, and I had all these woolen hand knits, and I wanted to knit something, but it was like June, so I wasn't going to buy Cascade 220 and make a cardigan. And they had a store sample of this particular sweater. It's a Barocco sweater. And I thought, oh, that's kind of interesting. Maybe I'll wear a tank, I'd make a knit tank top. So I bought all the yarn for it. It took me forever to finish it. I think it was one of my pandemic finishes, to be honest, because it had gotten to where all I had to do was finish the decreases and the neckband. Yeah, it's a knit neckband, not crocheted, and armbands. I mean, it was like 2 days worth of work to finish the thing, and it took me years to finish it. And I think I did finish it in 2020. I don't think I've ever worn it. Oh, and I know why. Well, not why I haven't worn it, but why. Because it was designed to be knit flat and seamed. And I hate knitting flat and seaming. And I'm like, how hard can it be to convert this into an in the round pattern? Well, as you can see, it has a lot of hip shaping. And I don't think I did a very good job of translating the flat pattern instructions into in the round. I don't know. Let me throw it on. We'll see. We'll see how it looks on. Maybe you guys can be the judge and you can tell me, oh, that doesn't look that bad. All right. All right. It doesn't maybe look that bad. And with this gray blue down here with a pair, I never wear blue jeans, so why do I say wear it with a pair of jeans? But I don't know. I don't think I've worn it out of the house since I finished it in 2020, because I think I stuck it in here. And then, of course, summer of 2021, I was Oh, and it's got a big hole in it. So I'm going to have to set that aside into the mending pile. I must have dropped a stitch or broke a thread or caught it on something. Who knows? So I've got to fix that. I've never even worn it and it's got a hole in it. By middle 2021, things in my life got a little fixing and wearing cardigan or tank tops, not high on my to-do list. I honestly don't remember making this sweater, this little tank. So you can see it's kind of got like a high-low hem on it. It is a cotton, and because I was going through when I was going through my bins to find all my random yarn to make those scrap blankets this winter, I found this yarn in there in more colors. And I was like, oh, I should make a little t-shirt out of that cotton because it's a cotton yarn. And I completely forgot that I knit this. I don't know. Oh, I don't know what pattern it is. Probably something from Ravelry. This one I would actually wear without a shirt under it in the summertime. The proper undergarments. And I love this color. So this one definitely is going to go into the summer rotation. Put it with that green hemp yarn one. And see where it goes. All right, before we dig deeper, there's one I tossed over here in the corner the other day when I was looking for something in here. Let's grab this one in the corner. This one, I put it over here because it's not just green. It's not a frog just because it's green. It's going to be frogged because there's no way I'm ever going to wear this. Again, I think this pattern might be in that interweave lace book. And these books I'm talking about are probably 20 years old. Because, yeah, I never put a button on it. I mean, maybe I'll have to look. When I look at the footage, I'll know if I think it looks better on. I like the pattern. Okay. It just, I feel like the Frog Princess. Like, one, I think when I knit this color was pretty on trend. I don't know that it is anymore. And I just don't think it's a style. And it's 100% cotton yarn. It's like wearing a dishcloth. And that's exactly what I think it's going to become. I think I'm going to frog it and re-knit the cotton into cotton. I don't actually use them in my kitchen as washcloths in the kitchen. I use them, I'll put it with the mending pile. I tend to use them more as washcloths, like scrubby washcloths for my face. Okay. This beautiful piece is not knit, but it is hand woven silk chenille. And if you're from the Fox Valley of Illinois, or if you're into the weaving world, you might recognize the name Denise Kavanaugh. Denise Kavanaugh was one of the founding sisters. She was a Catholic nun of the Fine Line Art Center in St. Charles, Illinois, which was, as the crow flies, about a mile from our house. And she was a beautiful, experienced fiber artist and weaver. And I had the opportunity, my button came off, and I saved it. So I did wear this at Christmas time this year. It's a Ruana. And if I mispronounced that word, please let me know. But I had the opportunity, I bought this. They used to have a holiday fashion show and sale for their members every year. And I splurged one year and bought myself this. And I've had it ever since. I bought this before I had children. So this is over 30 years old. And sadly, Denise is no longer, she has joined her Heavenly Father gone to her heavenly rewards, I think is probably what, as a Catholic nun, she would say. And she passed of cancer a number of years ago, but was an amazing woman and a talented artist. And I feel very honored to own a piece of her art. It is the most it is the most luxurious fabric I have ever owned. And when you really look and you know that it was woven by hand on a loom, one of those large room, one that would fill half of this big room. And she did the braids here and the beading some of the string had broken. I've lost some of the beads on that tie, but treasured piece. I haven't worn it in years, but I did wear it this year to an art event here in Selma. So, this one's still in the packaging. I was probably supposed to give it to somebody. These are some silk scarf/throws that my ex-husband brought back from Turkey when he went to Turkey for a business trip. I'm going to take those out and put those somewhere else. I do like to use those as altar cloths. And a pair of thick fuzzy socks. Okay. This bag, I think we've talked maybe about this item in the past. I'm not going to pull the whole thing out. Here's bits. This is what is remainders of what I have of my youngest daughter's original baby blanket, her blankie that she would sleep with every night. And I had to cut this satin binding off of it because it was falling apart when she was still preschool age, and rebind it and repair it. But I kept the original parts just in case the remade one wasn't good enough, because no one was going to sleep if that blankie didn't pass inspection. Some 20 years later, it's still there. Okay, now, well, before we get in there, okay, that is again just some little scarf and another one of these Turkish scarves that I'm going to put somewhere else. Okay, and a pario from, I think, Tahiti. I think we went to Tahiti and they gave us these, to wear around your bathing suit. I didn't know I still had it. I was looking for it a couple summers ago when I went to the beach. So again, it's got to go somewhere else where I know where it is. Okay, all right, another store-bought red cardigan wool. Looks way too small for me. That's going to go in the wash it and felt it pile. Not that that's an official pile yet. Ooh, that's ugly. Okay, this is that sari silk yarn, if you've ever seen that stuff. And I obviously tried to make a cowl. I think this is another one of the Mobius. Where's my frog pile? I don't know what. I gave away a bunch of that yarn when I moved because I was like, I hate this yarn. I'm never going to use it. Okay, we're going to leave the other non-knit things. All right, I think we are now into my shawl phase. Knitting. I mean, all those sweaters weren't like all in a row, but I love to knit lace. I really love to knit lace. And I like to wear shawls when I remember that I have them. And when you see how many are in here, you're like, how do you forget these? But, I wish I could. Let me see if I can find the very first shawl. I'm not going to do, oh no, please don't be unraveling. What is that? Okay, no, it's not. All right, this is the very first shawl I knit. And this is well over 30 years ago. This is early 90s. Well, maybe not over. Yeah. Okay, to all of you Outlander fans out there that are watching it on, is it on Stars? Showtime? Stars. Or maybe on Netflix now. Well, I don't know if you knew this, but before it was a show on streaming service, it was a series of books, and I'm saying that very tongue-in-cheek. And those books came out in the early 90s. And this girl read them all, like a generation later read Harry Potter. When they came out, I was at Barnes & Noble buying the next book. And I read I didn't discover them until the third book came out. So I read the first three, boom, boom. My sister gave them to me to read. And then after that, all the books. I've only watched one season of the show. So, that's all I'm going to say about that. You want to get in discussion about my feelings about the Outlander show? One, I was over it. By the time they finally got it on television, it had been so many years since I read it. I was kind of over it. And then I have other opinions about after I watched the first season of it. We can discuss it in the comments if you want. Anyway, this is called, I think it's called the Outlander Shawl. And that book was just sitting right here because I was going to knit another shawl out of this book. But there is a book called Folk Shawls by Cheryl Oberly. and no relation to anybody I know named Oberly. But there is it's not the Outlander Shawl. It's the Highlander Shawl. That's what this is, the Highlander Shawl pattern. And this is natural hand spun wool, not my hand spun. I wasn't spinning yarn back then, and still to this day could not spin this quality of consistent yarn. Bought it from a local yarn shop, but it's from Highland sheep, and that's the natural color of it. And it was the very first shawl I made, and I knit it while I was reading the Outlander series of books. And I love it. Okay, again, sorry about the microphone, because you can do the Highlander thing, which I've seen in pictures from the Outlander show, that Claire does wear her shawls occasionally like this. Well, then in 2007? Yes, I think it was 2007. Yeah, we went, my family and I, we did go to Scotland. We went to Highland, we went to Culloden, and I have some photos. If I can find them, I don't know if I'll be able to find them. I'll put them up here of me on Culloden wearing this shawl. So this probably of all my hand knits has the most story behind it. That's actually, oddly enough, still somewhat relevant because people are, because of television, still aware of that series of books. And I haven't read the last few. I mean, I don't remember the last one I read, but like I said, it took, it's been like a generation that she's been writing those books. Anyway, that's that shawl. Then I think the next shawl I made was this one, and I think it's called the Kimono Shawl. I think it's in that same book. And this is so soft and warm. And again, I think this has Angora and alpaca in it or something. It's super soft. It's just, I say it's a simple, I need to wear this. I made this one thinking, well, maybe someday I may be a mother of the bride. And if one of my children decides to get married in the winter, I would have this pretty shawl to wear over my mother of the bride dress. I don't know. My brain tells itself stories all the time. Anyway, I should get this one out and sit on this, because this is like the perfect bed shawl, I would call it. Keep your neck and your shoulders and your upper arms while you're reading in bed, like a bed jacket. And it's beautiful. All right. But of course, I have a house full of black cats. So would an off-white shawl be a smart thing to have draped around a chair? Because that would be the first thing Lilith will find to lay on, is that shawl. Okay, where else are we here shawl-wise? This one, cute little hand-dyed one skein sock yarn shawl. That's just a piece of fuzz. This is nice, like under like a jacket, just a little jacket. Kind of tucked in the front of a blouse. Or, I love the color of the yarn. And I didn't want to this was during my sock knitting phase, and I had so much sock yarn. And I was over it. So I could not tell you the pattern. Might be on my Ravelry if you find my Ravelry. Don't know. This one. This is a cotton, silk, or rayon, maybe rayon, open weave. I think this was one of mine, maybe a travel knit that I bought the yarn and just wanted something that repeating pattern that I didn't have to count really. Once you memorize the repeat, you just go. It's probably only like a 4 or 6 row repeat. I did wear this one quite a bit. The thing with shawls, like they're great to wear, like if you're going to a wedding or you're going, somewhere like a restaurant where it might get chilly. And I used to take like this one, and there's another one, couple other ones in here that I would take when I travel, because they fit nicely in your luggage, and when you're on the airplane, it's nicer looking than those airplane blankets. So that's probably, this one doesn't have a fun story. It's beautiful. I'm pretty sure that is a, like an indie dye or dyed yarn. I don't think it's a commercial dye, but I have no idea. I can't remember. All right, we're going to save that one that's got a story. Oh, here's one more hand knit. This sweater, I wondered if I still had this. All right, again, sorry if I make noise on the microphone. Gotta see if this one fits. This is such a weird little vest. I kind of sort of almost felted it. It's like not totally felted, but when I made it, it was this, it wasn't as cropped. Yeah, it's totally, it could be felted more. There's still a little bit of stretch to it, but I definitely accidentally felted it. That's why it's in the bottom here and hasn't been worn. But, because I think I thought it was superwash and it's not. But the yarn store that I used to go to Friday morning knitting had, got this collection of yarn in, and I just loved all the colors. And I don't know if this vest was one that, like, quite often when a yarn company comes out with a collection for, the season and colors, they will put out a pattern book using those. I'm guessing that's what this was. And I just thought it was fun. But again, I've definitely shrunk it because it was not cropped when I made it. And I went through a color work phase. I didn't really do any straight up Fair Isle. There is a pair of somewhat Fair Isle socks in there. That's when I learned to, I taught myself to knit with both hands. But that can't be frogged. All right, it's going to go in the felt it more pile. This is from when I taught myself to crochet. No way on God's green earth I will ever wear that. So that's going to go, well, oh my God, but I'm like, well, what else could I do with it? Could I make a pillow out of it? Could I frog it? Yes, I don't want to frog it. It's not worth frogging. Could I make more of these little medallions and make a little shawl? No. You got enough projects. All right. This is a really ugly hat. The yarn was really pretty in the bolt, and when I knit it up, it ended up looking kind of almost dark camo. And then the pattern I chose, look how huge this hat is. Although I have a big head. I kind of wanted an oversized beanie to put all my hair up in, but it ended up being so ugly that I never wear it. Anyway, and then this hat, I do like this hat. And I didn't know where it was. It is a cute little like beret / beanie. All right, we'll leave that one on. Okay, we're almost to the bottom. All right, I'm gonna save that one. When I made the Highlander shawl, I originally went into the store wanting to buy black lace yarn to make that in black. And the owner, who was subsequently over the years did become my friend, but at the time I didn't really know her. And I'm not giving her any grief. She's like, you don't want to knit lace you don't want to knit black yarn, knit lace pattern. I think she thought I was kind of a beginner knitter. I don't think she'd realized I'd been knitting for, 25 years at that point. Because I was kind of young, but I had been knitting for a long time and it wasn't my first lace. But anyhow, I decided this is leftover yarn from that ugly black cable knit vest that I did. And I had just enough left over to make this little shawlet. So again, it's just a little short neck shawl. And probably who knows what the pattern is. But it does have nups. Not nips, but nups. And if you're a knitter and you've ever knit anything with nups, the fact that I did it with a fuzzy black yarn, I think I should win some kind of medal because they're a pain in the butt to, like, you knit and you keep them, you don't pull them off the needle and then you put them all back on the left needle and you knit them all together. No, those are bobbles. No, bobbles are different. Anyway, it was a pain in the butt. Where did the shawl pile go? I don't know. Over here, I guess. Okay. This one, I think I'd already learned to crochet, or maybe I hadn't learned to crochet, but that same yarn store owner, Leslie, if you're watching, I see you. She now lives in Florida and has retired from the yarn world. But this is
Noro, and everybody pronounces the name of this yarn different. I think it's supposed to be basically pronounced crayon or I don't know. But Noro yarn, it's a weird silken wool or something, and they have a lot of different Noro yarns. But they were all the rage at the time, and she basically had this crocheted. It's basically like a half a granny square, and you start here in the middle with 2 granny square clusters, and you just keep increasing as you go. That's the simplified version of how you do it, but it just really plays that crayon box. And I do wear this one, and every time I wear it, somebody comments on this because the yarn, it's the simplest pattern, but that's the key. You know, you have a very simple plain yarn, you do a fancy pattern with it. You have a very fancy yarn, you do a really simple pattern with it to show off the yarn. I wear this one every season, every winter. This one and the Highlander Shawl are my go-to shawls because when they're big, I like the big shawl. Okay, but again, another little shawl. This I had bought on clearance sale. This is more of that hempathy yarn in my second favorite color. So you can see when I found it on clearance sale somewhere and they had these 2 colors, I just bought what they had. They had enough of the green to make that little tank, but they didn't have enough of the purple to do much more than this little shawl. And it's very similar to that black shawl, but just a little bit different. And I did this one in Chattanooga. I remember finishing it in Chattanooga. But again, how many of these little, just to the shoulder, neck warming shawls do I need? Not very many. I need to go out to cold, over air-conditioned restaurants more often. Okay, these last 2 lace shawls are of lace shawls. This one I did in a knit-along at that same yarn shop back in Illinois. My first experience with NUPs. I can't, is it called the Lily of the Valley? Something like that. And I had thought it was going to turn out bigger than this. I thought it was going to be more the size of that kimono shawl, but it's still beautiful. The thing is, I have an entire ball of this lavender lace weight, Angora, silk, whatever this is, yarn left. I wish in hindsight I had doubled the yarn, and it probably would have ended up, the gauge would have been a little bit bigger, and I would have used up all that yarn because I'm not going to make another lace shawl. And there's nothing else to do with that lace yarn. Someday, I do have some dark purple lace yarn, so maybe I'll double them up and do something with the 2 of them doubled. I don't know. But again, it's another one of those like perfect mother of the bride. I have worn it to a wedding before. And the beauty of this one is I can fold this one up to a size that literally fits, if not into a sandwich bag, into a quart size Ziploc bag, stick it in the corner of my luggage, and for as cloud-like as this one is, as gossamer lace as this one is, you would be surprised at how warm this is. I think I took this on our trip to Hawaii a few years ago, and we had an overnight flight from the mainland to Honolulu, I think, and got very cold on that plane. I had a window seat, and I had this in my carry-on. It took up less space, almost about the same amount of space as a book would take up. And it was a lifesaver just to have that lightweight shawl. Now this shawl also has a little bit of a story, and it has a name. And I don't think I've maybe worn this out in the public once. This I call my Invisibility Cloak. And I saw this piece of thread hanging off, and I thought it was unraveling, but it's not. I just have a piece that I didn't bury. Look at this gorgeous thing. Can you see how beautiful it is? And it's big. And it has glass beads on the bottom lace edges knit into it. The reason this is called my Invisibility Cloak is, I think I mentioned Harry Potter a little while ago. The last book, 7th book of the series, came out we were living in Illinois, and my daughters and I did the whole shebang. We took the train into Oak Park, which is where my sister lives, and Oak Park, the city of Oak Park, Illinois, did the whole downtown Oak Park had turned itself into Harry Potter world. You know, they had a Diagon Alley, and they had Hogwarts, and they had Wizard's Chests at the park, and podcasters at the library. That's, I think, what we really went to see, and all these things. And we did that until about 10 o'clock at night, and took one of the last trains back out to where we lived, to the western suburbs, and then went to Barnes & Noble to pick up our reserved book at midnight. Okay, what does that have to do with this shawl? Well, the next morning, so I was up all over western suburbs of Chicago with my children till well past midnight. The next morning, which I want to say had to be either a Saturday or a Sunday morning, I was planned to go to a fiber festival. I think it was in like Crystal Lake or somewhere north and west of where I was. And I was a dragon butt a little bit that morning to go to this fiber festival. But I found this big ball of this hand-painted silk yarn. And I can't remember the name now of I couldn't tell you the name of the artist, and I couldn't tell you the name of the colorway. But I was like, oh my God, those are all my colors. So beautiful. And when I finally found this pattern, and I think it's called the Night Song pattern. Again, it's on my Ravelry somewhere. And I started knitting it. And not right away. But as I was knitting it, I was like, oh, this is going to be my invisibility cloak. I'm just going to, because it's Harry Potter. And I'm going to knit my own Horcrux. And I started it. And guess when I finished it? Sometime between 2017 and 2020. I don't recall. I finished it after we moved to Chattanooga. Somebody Google, if I don't when I'm editing this, when did that 7th book come out? I got to say this was on the needles for a good decade, approximately. I mean, I know when the last movie came out, but I can't remember when the last book came out. And then by the time I picked it up again, I was probably like around in this neighborhood of it. And I had to figure out on this very delicate lace pattern where the heck I was on the pattern sheet. Because maybe there was a Post-it note on the pattern sheet, but was I 100% confident that the Post-it note was marking where I had actually left off? Or not? Probably not. I think I did have to frog a little bit of this, which was, I almost completely ripped it and started it over again, but I think I finally figured it out. And then I got the beads to put the beads on the end. And I'm going to tell you, when it was in process and on the needles, it just looked like a hunk of thread. You could not see the lace pattern. And I don't know if you can see the lace pattern, even because of the background. But it is kind of almost a peacock feather lace pattern. It's probably the best description. But I mustered on, and I did finally finish it, and I finally got it blocked. And I think I've worn it out to a restaurant with my ex-husband once. Did he notice? No, he probably didn't notice that I had finally finished something that I had started a decade earlier. But obviously I didn't completely finish it because it still has threads that need to be woven in. All right, we are kind of sort of a little bit to the bottom here, pretty much. Okay, now this is something else that I had forgotten, kind of in a way, that I had started collecting. And now I've shown you my antique quilts and my, especially my rescued quilt tops that never got finished. Well, these, that same era, I would find these baby quilts at antique stores. And I couldn't just let them sit there. And this one is a lot of these fabrics are in tatters and they're stained. But those are probably, I'm going to guess that those are feed sack cottons from the Depression era. The bindings are tearing. And I don't know. Let's see if I can see what the batting inside. I can't really, it's not, commercial batting. It's probably pieces of an old sheet or an old blanket. So there's that one. This one is a particular favorite because look at it. not only are the fabrics phenomenal, and it's not even completely square, it's a little wonky, but this is such a Depression era thing because it is crazy quilted. They took every little scrap from probably their feed sack dresses that they were making, and for some little girl's birthday or Christmas or something, they took there's tiny little scraps of fabric. And this is done not in the stitch and flip method that I did mine, but literally like needle turned under and stitched down, whatever shape on each shape. And would I love to know the stories behind all these fabrics, because that some, and I bought these in rural Illinois, so some Midwest Depression Dust Bowl era farm wife kept every single scrap of fabric in order to make something for her little girl to have, as a gift. Kind of makes me a little, All right. And second to last one, I didn't know those were in here. This one is, again, scrappy, probably about the same era as that other one. Also, the backings on all of these are pieced together. They're not, this one has almost one solid piece, but this corner up here is added in. And that back one, the Crazy Quilt one, totally pieced in the back. And that's definitely feed sack. If you're a feed sack or you have access to letting me know where I can look up some of these fabrics, I forgot these were in there, to be honest. But there are half square triangles, all, pinwheel here, but some of these are just rectangles. So these are probably all scraps of fabric from another full-size bed quilt that somebody made. Or again, dress square, just scraps left over from house projects, house coats and house dresses and things like that. And some of these weaves, but you can see, I don't know if you're going to be able to see, but like here, I can see the hand stitching that stitched these blocks together. And then it's just tied with cotton thread. It's not hand quilted. These bring me joy. These definitely bring me joy. And I forgot I had them, but I'm glad I've kept them down in there because that's kept them safe. Oh my, what in the heck is this? This might have been in here since oh my goodness sake. Okay, this might be something that my grandmother put in here. It is. I think it is, and I had no idea. Okay, this is a very delicate piece of leather on this slat, and it looks like it's hand painted. And it says up here, Long Beach, California. And there's a story about that. And it says down here, I think that says ties, Ties. No idea if anybody's but what tells me I know who this is there are initials stamped right here. And those initials are OMW. Oliver Merritt Wood, who is my great-grandfather, my grandma Nellie, who my house was named after, Nellie's husband. And here's I had no idea this was in there. Actually, that is not, that's hand painted, but it's also like glued or appliqued, these flowers on top of this leather. And then the petals are glued on, and then these leaves are painted. I have no idea what this would be, but I know where it's from. And all right, I'm going to have to Google it and not Google it, but check family records. I want to say 1920, but I might be off by a few years. I think I'm off by a few years. My great-grandfather and my grandfather and his siblings, and then some other local families and cousins, I can't remember who all went, left Michigan, left the farm in Michigan. The story that I remember, and this might be wrong because I'm the youngest in the family, and the stories didn't get down to me as well as they did to my older siblings. So went to Detroit to Henry Ford plant and bought, I think, 2 Model A's off the line. Literally, like, bought them right there in Detroit, packed up the family, and drove to California, to Long Beach, California. Basically, what became Highway 66. There, and my grandfather, Oliver, he was, my dad has a cousin, Ollie. He's Ollie. Great grandpa was Oliver. But my grandpa, Charlie, and probably my uncle Walter drove. They had the family had the 2 Fords. And my grandpa wouldn't have even been 20 years old yet. He would have been a teenager. But they drove these cars out there, and they both kept diaries of this trip. And I think I now officially have a virtual copy of the diary, but I have never had a chance to really dig into it. Anyhow, I know that they spent the night. They took what became Highway 66 pretty much all the way out to California, cross country, and they did spend the night along the Fox River somewhere in like North Aurora, somewhere near where I ended up living for 25 years. And this has to be a memento from that trip. It was down in here. It's the same color as the cedar lining. I've had this cedar chest for many years, at least 20 years. I can't remember now how long I've had this cedar chest. I don't remember when I acquired it from my grandmother. And that's been down in there, and I've never seen it. I'm going to put it back, but this is very delicate. Wow, actually, I'm going to put it back over here for now because I want to take some pictures of it and share it with my sisters and my brother and see if they have any. I mean, we know what it had to be from. It's from Long Beach, California. It had to be from that trip. The end of the story, they did end up back in Michigan because obviously that's where my dad was born. That was where I was born. That grandpa Charlie met Grandma Lilas and they got married, and this might have been a wedding gift for all I know, a cedar chest. Actually, there is a sticker down in here, so let's see. Okay, it says, oh, it's not even stuck on the bottom anymore. The cedar used in this chest is guaranteed to be genuine Tennessee aromatic red cedar, and it is from Ed Rue's company of Forest Park, Illinois, a suburb of Chicago. They had to put that on there just in case you didn't know where Forest Park was. Huh. But it doesn't have a year, unfortunately. It does not have like a year of purchase or a year of manufacture. This, I think, used to be right here because you can see where the little corners have ripped off. So it used to be in here, and now it's just in the bottom. But I don't see any other indicators of a date. And so I don't know if this is something my grandmother would have bought herself. She was a bit of a career woman before she got married and moved back to the farm. She lived in Detroit and was a nurse at Henry Ford Hospital, delivering babies, helping doctors deliver babies. Anybody who's had a baby knows the nurse does all the work. And so she might have bought that from Jail Hudson's back in the day, because she did buy a lot of her furniture that ended up part of her, what do they call it? Not your dowry, I'll think of it and flash it up on screen. So it might have been a hope chest that she bought when she was in Henry Ford, working for Henry Ford Hospital and living. Okay, well, thanks for digging in to this hope chest or cedar chest with me. I had to take that beanie off because I had to check a little bit of my video, and I realized I looked a little bit too much like Sam Kinison for my own comfort level. So I also apologize for that. Anyway, I am so glad you're here with me, and I hope you enjoyed today's journey into my past, and evidently into the deep dark past of some members of my family. Not the dark past, just a fun family history moment that I found a connection to in my cedar chest, which just, again, brings me joy. And that's right, I told you to remind me about bringing joy. So, as I have mentioned in previous videos and things about my tattoo that says don't postpone joy, and usually the ring that I usually wear, but I can't wear them right now because of my arthritis, getting old sucks, where that came from a friend of mine who I tragically lost a number of years ago, and that was her motto, and I have adopted it and taken it on and carried it forward in her memory. And also since my divorce and my change of life here, and well, I've had the change of life too, but that's not what we're talking about. My lifestyle change, my moving to Alabama and being a single woman and all these things that I'm going through, have gone through in the last few years, finding joy. What's bringing me joy? Acknowledging with gratitude the joy that I can find in my day-to-day life. Well, for 2024, our little fireside chat, I kind of talked a little bit about, intentions versus resolutions and, where I'm at there and stuff like that. And I'm not really much for resolutions. My shift around joy for 2024 is not just to continue to not postpone joy, to, embrace it whenever I can find it, acknowledge it with gratitude that this brings me joy, and finding joy in every day. And even the simplest little things, like hummingbirds at my feeder, or a cat purring on my lap, or the color of a flower on a dog walk, or something simple things that bring me joy, and bigger things that bring me joy. Like my daughter's taking the time to take time off from work and spend money to travel, to come and spend a weekend with me. Big joy. Bring joy that brings me tears, but joy tears. But what my 2024 resolution around joy is to not only find joy and not postpone joy, but to find ways to bring joy to others. And that can be as simple as writing a note to somebody that you haven't thought of in a while. And that note could be a text message or a Facebook message or an Instagram DM, but it could also be an actual physical note. Because I have to tell you, in the last 2 years, one of the things that brings me the most joy has been when people, family and friends, have randomly thought of me and felt that maybe I needed a little boost, a little morale boost, and have sent me a joy package. Everything from my sister sending me a huge box of fabric that still brings me joy, because every now and then I dig in there and I find more fabric to make something out of, to her sending me her extra spinning wheel last spring for my birthday, to sending both of my sisters randomly sending me boxes with paperback books and stickers and pins and journals. And I read this book and I thought, you mentioned you would be interested in reading it, so here it is, kind of thing. To a friend of mine, I don't think I shared this on my I shared it on my Instagram and my Facebook, but I didn't share it to y'all on here on YouTube. But a friend of mine in Michigan sent me a goodie box like a week or two after Christmas, and it was just filled with simple, random things. And it brought me so much joy to just know I haven't seen her since I moved from Illinois, and to just know that she randomly thought of me and gathered these things and took the time to put them in a box and put them in the mail and send them to me, just made me feel I was in a kind of I had been sick again, and just not feeling well. And it just really boosted me up to come out onto my front porch and find that sitting there waiting for me. So I want to return that joy to others. So that's my resolution for this year. And also, I'm a really bad gift giver. And my problem is when the event happens, the birthday, the anniversary, the Christmas holiday, that is the gift giving occasion. At that point, my mind goes blank. I can't think of, find a thing for the person. And I want to give and send like thoughtful gifts, like that I put some thought into. And I swear every time that event comes up, I'm either flat ass broke, which is pretty common for me lately, or just can't find the right thing. So what I have decided for 2024, it is everybody's birthday. It is Christmas every day. If I see something in a gift shop, in a store, online, in a Facebook ad, wherever, that says, oh, so-and-so would like that, and it's within my budget and I can afford it at the time, I'm going to get it right then. And I'm either going to send it to them right then as a random surprise, bring them joy, or squirrel it away somewhere and have it for when their birthday or Christmas comes up for them. And probably the latter, probably sending it at the time, because I think those unexpected, because I was thinking of you gifts mean more than it's your birthday, here's a present. Not that anybody does that, but you know, sometimes you're like, oh shit, I've been invited to this thing, I have to bring a gift. Or it's Christmas and I've just paid my property taxes and my insurance for the year or what have you, and now I have no money left because my budgeting, that's another thing. That's a whole other conversation we're going to have maybe if you're interested in how I budget things, but it's kind of a boring conversation. So, okay, enough for me and my sweater box. I got to put something else on because I'm cold. This t-shirt is not, it is, oh, it's warmed up. It's 43 degrees. That's probably why ice is falling off my roof. But it's probably only 60 degrees inside my house. So, yeah. All right. Well, thanks for being with me and reaching out and commenting and all the things. It's been wonderful. I will check y'all later, Gators.